What happens when loyalty meets power and the streets turn their back on one of their own? The hip-hop world is on fire again, and this time, it's not just about music. It's about loyalty, betrayal, and respect. After weeks of tension surrounding Drake's feud with Kendrick Lamar, Jim Jones has just done the unthinkable. He publicly sided with Drake. That one move sent shockwaves across the industry, because everyone knows Jim's longtime bond with 50 Cent and New York's street legends. But the moment Jim threw his support behind Drake, the reactions came flooding in, and no one was louder than 50 Cent. In true 50 style, he didn't hold back. His comments, brutal. His tone, cold. His message, clear. Some of y'all forget who built this game. 50 posted, and fans instantly knew who he was talking about within hours. Social media was divided, Drake's fans cheering Jim on, and the old-school East Coast legends calling him a sellout. Now, the entire hip-hop scene is split down the middle. Did Jim Jones just betray his roots? Or is he smart for backing the biggest artist alive? Stay tuned, because 50 Cent's Savage's response might just reignite a war nobody saw coming. The hip-hop world has seen its fair share of rivalries. Nas versus Jay-Z, Drake versus Meek Mill, Pusha T versus Drake. But this latest moment might be one of the most surprising. When Jim Jones, a certified Harlem legend, threw his weight behind Drake, nobody expected it to trigger a storm involving 50 Cent, one of the most feared voices in the game. It all began subtly. During an Instagram Live, Jim Jones was asked about the ongoing Drake versus Kendrick Lamar feud. Instead of taking the New York solidarity route or staying neutral, Jim went all in for Drake. He said, "Drake is the real one out here. Y'all can say what you want, but he's running the game. Hits, hustle, respect. That's facts." The moment those words hit the internet, comments started flying like bullets. Fans couldn't believe it. Jim Jones, a veteran who built his name beside Dipset, Cameron, and the East Coast movement, was now standing up for Drake, a Toronto artist who's often accused of not being street enough. For hip-hop purists, this felt like a betrayal. But Jim wasn't backing down. In another clip that surfaced hours later, he doubled down. "Man, ain't nobody doing it like Drake right now. He was consistent. He was global. He got the streets and the charts. That's kind of behavior." This is where 50 Cent stepped in, and that's when things really went left, you know? 50, he doesn't do quiet. Social media has always been his playground. Part comedy, part war zone. Within hours of Jim's live going viral, 50 posted a cryptic meme showing an old photo of himself and Jim Jones, together with the caption, "Funny how some people forget who really put them on game. Loyalty ain't what it used to be." That single post exploded online. Fans instantly started connecting dots, and 50 didn't stop there. In a follow-up post, he dropped another jab. "Don't ever switch sides just to stay relevant. Some of y'all need to remember what loyalty means before you start waving another man's flag." So it's obvious he was aiming straight at Jim Jones. Social media went crazy. Comments flooded in from every direction. 50 talking about Jim for sure. Drake's got the new wave, but 50 got the streets. This is about to get ugly. 50 don't forgive easily. Within a few hours, hip-hop Twitter and Instagram were completely split. Half were writing for Drake and Jim's perspective, saying hip-hop needs to evolve. The other half sided with 50, saying, "You don't cross your roots for a trend, Jim. Never one to stay quiet." Went on another live. This time, his tone was serious. He looked right into the camera and said, "Yo, I got mad love for 50. Always will. But don't twist my words. I ain't switching sides. I'm just speaking facts. Drake's one of the greatest to ever do it, period." The comments lit up. Some applauded his honesty, while others called him out for disrespect. But what stood out most was how confident Jim sounded. He didn't seem intimidated by 50's energy. If anything, he sounded ready for whatever might come next. Meanwhile, 50 was quiet for a few hours. Then came another cryptic post, this time a photo of Drake and Jim performing together years ago, with the caption, "This picture aged like milk. It's all it took." The internet went into meltdown mode. Every big platform picked it up. YouTube channels, podcasts, and blogs all were covering the same headline. Jim Jones supports Drake to 50 Cent claps back. Even some hip-hop legends started weighing in. Fat Joe posted on IG saying, "It's all love, but you can't forget where you are from." Meanwhile, Charlemagne thought God mentioned it on The Breakfast Club, saying, "This is the perfect example of how hip-hop loyalty gets complicated." Jim and 50 are both icons, but this generation's energy is different. Drake moves culture in a way we've never seen before. At this point, the story wasn't just about two rappers. It was about two eras of hip-hop clashing in real time. Old-school street credibility versus modern-day global dominance. Harlem versus Toronto. Loyalty versus evolution. The debates kept raging. Did Jim Jones sell out by backing Drake? Or was he just being honest about where hip-hop is now? Industry insiders started whispering that 50 wasn't just upset about the comment, he was upset about timing. See, 50's been working on new projects, including another season of BMF and a rumored music comeback. For him, Jim publicly siding with Drake during a time when 50 was trying to rebuild his legacy in the culture felt personal. One producer who's worked with both artists told The Source, "50's an empire guy. Everything's about loyalty and power for him. When he sees Jim shouting out Drake like that, it hits differently. Like your own guy giving props to your competition." And it's not the first time the 50's had issues with artists picking sides. Remember when the game aligned with Kanye and other rivals back in the day? The 50's reaction was legendary, cold, strategic, and unforgettable. Now fans are wondering, will history repeat itself? As of now, both camps are quiet, but fans are waiting for the next move. Rumors say 50 might address it in an upcoming interview or even a freestyle. And if that happens, expect fireworks. Meanwhile, Jim's focusing on his music, sharing studio clips, and hinting at a new project. But the comments under every post, still filled with fans arguing about the Drake comment, it's become clear this isn't just another celebrity spat. It's a reflection of how divided the hip-hop world really is between the old rules and the new wave. And the craziest part, 50 Cent might not be done yet. Word on the street is he's preparing to take this feud to another level. But what happens when a man who built his empire on beef decides to remind everyone how he got there? That's where the story gets explosive. The tension was boiling and everyone could feel it. 50 Cent had been quiet for a few days. Too quiet. And if there's one thing fans have learned over the years, it's this. When 50 goes silent, he's plotting something. Suddenly, a clip started circulating on social media, a behind-the-scenes moment from a podcast recording. 50 was seen laughing with the host, and then he dropped a line that sent shockwaves across the internet. "I don't argue with dudes who pick pop stars over real ones," he said with that signature smirk. The crowd in the studio burst out laughing, but fans knew exactly who he was talking about. It wasn't a coincidence he was aiming directly at Jim Jones. Within minutes, Twitter was flooded. Hashtags like #50vsJim and #HipHopDivided started trending. Fans started debating. Was 50 right for calling Jim out? Or was Jim just being honest about Drake's dominance? Jim Jones didn't waste any time firing back. He went live again, this time sitting in his car, the classic Harlem energy in his voice. "I don't need anybody's approval. You heard? I speak facts." Drake's the biggest artist out here, and that's no cap. Ain't about picking sides, it's about recognizing greatness. He wasn't yelling, but you could feel the frustration. This wasn't just about Drake anymore, this was about respect. Jim was tired of being treated like a little bro in the industry. He's been in the game for decades, he's paid his dues, and now he's standing his ground. Fans noticed that shift too. Some said Jim was finally stepping into his own voice, breaking away from the shadow of old alliances. Others said he was walking into dangerous territory because 50's history with beef isn't one to play with. Then, things got even more interesting. A DJ leaked a snippet from an unreleased 50 Cent track allegedly aimed at Jim. The lyrics weren't confirmed, but people claimed to hear lines like, But people claim to hear lines like, "Token 'bout Drake like he signed your checks. Don't forget who taught you how to flex." The internet went wild. Memes, reaction videos, even TikToks mocking the situation flooded the feeds. It was pure entertainment, but with real tension underneath. Meanwhile, Drake seemed to be watching the whole thing quietly from the sidelines. He didn't comment directly, but fans caught him liking a post where someone said, "Jim just said what everyone's scared to admit. Drake runs hip-hop." That small gesture added fuel to the fire. 50 responded to that too. Of course he did. He shared a photo of Drake and captioned it, "Stay in Canada, champ. Harlem business only." It was petty, calculated, and exactly what fans expected from 50 Cent. What people didn't expect, though, was how quickly this beef began dividing other artists. Some rappers from New York started throwing subtle support behind 50, saying loyalty comes first. Others, mostly younger artists, praised Jim for showing love to Drake, calling it real recognition, not hate. Even mainstream outlets picked up on the culture clash. XXL magazine ran a headline, "Jim Jones vs. 50 Cent, the new generation line drawn in hip-hop." Complex ran an editorial saying, "This feud isn't about beef, it's about the changing definition of authenticity. Old school loyalty doesn't mean the same thing in 2025. And that's what made this moment so fascinating. It wasn't just about 50th or Jim anymore. It became a conversation about what hip-hop stands for today. Still, 50 wasn't backing down. On a live stream promoting his next project, he made another jab, saying, "I don't care who y'all crown king. I've been that since before streaming even existed. These new dudes want validation. I built an empire." It was raw, confident, and very 50 Cent. Fans cheered, memes blew up again, and you could tell the man was enjoying every second of it. Jim, however, didn't take the bait this time. Instead, he focused on dropping new music. A week later, he released a freestyle on YouTube. And while he didn't name names, the lyrics spoke volumes. "I paved my own lane, didn't need no permission. Some folks stuck in the past, scared of transition. I talk about kings 'cause I see the vision. Ain't no hate, just truth with precision." The bars hit hard. The internet immediately labeled it the Jim response, even though Jim never confirmed it. But fans knew it was his message to 50 and to everyone questioning his loyalty. And once again, hip-hop was divided. Some called it mature, others said it was too soft compared to 50's ruthless energy. But one thing became clear. This feud was deeper than music. It was about legacy, relevance, and the struggle between two generations of artists. One that built the streets, and one that conquered the world through streaming. Behind the scenes, industry insiders whispered that this might not end publicly, that both camps had mutual respect, even if they weren't admitting it. But for now, the story was far from over, because 50 Cent had just hinted in an interview that he had something special dropping soon, and everyone knew what that meant. When 50 says something special, it's never a love song. The entire industry was waiting for 50 Cent's something special. Fans speculated, bloggers theorized, and hip-hop pages started teasing a possible diss track. Everyone knew 50 loved theatrics. He doesn't just respond, he strategizes. When he strikes, he makes it an event, and then, without warning, he dropped it. A surprise music video hit YouTube titled "Empire Loyalty." The thumbnail showed 50 standing in front of a burning microphone, pure symbolism. Within minutes, it went viral. The bars, ruthless. The tone, classic 50. He didn't drop names, but there was no mistaking who the shots were aimed at. "You switched sides for a cosign. That's desperation talk. I built empires from nothing. You just walk the walk. Used to be my brother, now you playing with the ops. All these fake crowns fall as soon as the music stops." The internet exploded. Fans flooded the comments, tagging Jim Jones, Drake, even Rick Ross. Reaction videos dropped instantly. Creators breaking down every lyric, every bar, every subtle dig. 50's flow was confident, mocking. Esgal. He knew exactly what he was doing. Jim Jones stayed quiet for 24 hours. And that silence spoke volumes. Some thought he was ignoring 50. Others said he was plotting a response. But when Jim finally broke his silence, he didn't rap. He spoke in a sit-down interview with The Breakfast Club. Jim addressed the drama head-on. "It's love, man. I got respect for 50, always have. But I'm gonna stand on what I said. Drake is one of the greatest ever. That's facts. Don't mean I'm switching sides. It just means I recognize greatness when I see it." The tone was calm, controlled, and mature. But the interview quickly went viral for another reason. When asked if he'd ever do business with 50 again, Jim paused for a long second, then said, "Depends on the energy." That one line turned into hundreds of memes overnight. Meanwhile, Drake subtly entered the chat again. He posted an Instagram story showing him vibing to one of Jim's older tracks with the caption, "Real, recognize real." Fans immediately connected the dots. Drake was showing support, and he wasn't hiding it anymore. That move reignited the storm. 50 saw it, reposted it with laughing emojis, and wrote, "Ain't no loyalty in this industry, just vibes and validation." Now, it wasn't just a feud, it was an entire conversation about loyalty, business, and evolution in hip-hop. Old-school artists like Jadakiss and Fat Joe started commenting. Jadakiss tweeted, "Real ones don't pick sides, they make moves." Fat Joe, on the other hand, said in an interview, "This is what hip-hop's about, competition." But y'all gotta remember, these guys are millionaires arguing about respect. The real ones, watching the game change. That's what made it all so fascinating. This wasn't a fight between two hungry up-and-comers. It was between established icons with legacies, fan bases, and empires. Yet, even with all that success, ego and pride still ruled the stage. Jim began using the attention smartly. He dropped behind-the-scenes clips from his studio sessions, teasing new collabs with younger artists. Fans noticed his numbers going up. More views, more followers, more engagement. Whether intentional or not, the drama boosted him big time. Meanwhile, 50 leaned into his role as the ultimate troll. On his next live stream, he was all smiles. "Look, man, I ain't mad. It's hip-hop. But don't ever forget I made this energy cool. I made this competition fun. Y'all just follow the blueprint." He even hinted that he might include empire loyalty in his upcoming project, saying, "It's all part of the bigger plan." By now, the internet was fully divided. Some fans called Jim a traitor. Others said 50 was being hypocritical after all. 50 himself had supported artists outside New York plenty of times. Comment sections became battlegrounds. TikTok creators made hour-long breakdowns, and everyone wanted to know who's right. Music insiders saw something deeper, though. One journalist from Billboard wrote, "This feud highlights the generational split in hip-hop, the battle between street credibility and digital influence. 50 represents legacy. Jim represents transition. Drake represents dominance." And they were right. It wasn't just about bars anymore. It was about identity. What does it mean to be loyal in an era where collaborations, algorithms, and viral moments define careers? But 50 wasn't finished yet. Days later, he posted a cryptic message on X. "Funny how loyalty fades when the lights come on? I'll see y'all at the top." That one post reignited everything all over again. Fans began predicting that he might be planning a live confrontation, possibly at an upcoming festival or award show. And if there's one thing about 50 Cent, it's that he doesn't bluff when it comes to making statements. Jim, on the other hand, seemed calm. He posted a story of himself in the studio with a caption, "Music over drama." But deep down, everyone knew this wasn't over. It was just evolving, because in hip-hop, silence doesn't mean peace. It usually means the storm is RELOAD. And with the storm finally reached its breaking point. Weeks had passed since the first shots were fired. And hip-hop had turned the feud between 50 Cent and Jim Jones into a cultural moment. Every blog, every podcast, every social media page was analyzing who was right, who was real, and who was just chasing clout. Then, out of nowhere, a surprise happened. Both 50 and Jim were spotted at the same event, a private listening party for one of the biggest upcoming rappers in New York. Fans couldn't believe it. Cameras flashed, the room went silent for a second, and everyone held their breath, waiting for a scene. But instead of chaos, both men nodded at each other. No words, no handshake, just a look of mutual understanding. That small gesture spoke louder than any diss track. It said, "We may not agree, but we respect the game. Agree, but we respect the game." After the event, 50 went on Instagram Live and said something no one expected. "I ain't got no problem with Jim. He said what he said, that's his opinion. This ain't the first time the culture has been split, and it won't be the last. But y'all gotta stop acting like every disagreement's a war." The live went viral instantly. Fans started calling it the truce nobody saw coming. Jim reposted a clip from the live on his story, writing, "Respect goes both ways." It wasn't an official peace treaty, but for hip-hop fans, it was enough. That night, Twitter turned from chaos to celebration. People praised both men for ending it without dragging the culture deeper into negativity. A few hours later, Drake himself liked Jim's post and commented with a simple emoji, signaling unity. For the first time in weeks, the hip-hop world exhaled. The energy shifted from confrontation to reflection. Podcasts began dissecting what it all meant, how competition fuels creativity, and how even legends like 50 and Jim can disagree without destroying their legacies. One commentator put it perfectly. "What we just saw wasn't beef, it was evolution. This is what happens when real men with power choose pride and peace at the same time." In the days that followed, something amazing happened. Streams for both artists spiked. Fans revisited their old collabs, nostalgic for the days when unity ruled the streets. The tension that once divided the culture now became a moment that reminded everyone what hip-hop has always been about: growth, respect, and legacy. But in true 50 Cent fashion, he couldn't resist one final playful jab. A week later, he posted a meme of himself laughing with the caption, "Ain't no beef, just business. But don't test me, I still got bars." The internet exploded in laughter. Even Jim commented with a laughing emoji. It was all love, all competition, all hip-hop. Because at the end of the day, both 50 and Jim knew the truth. They were part of something bigger than a feud. They were shaping a conversation about loyalty, legacy, and survival in a game that never stops evolving. If you've been riding with hip-hop from day one, from mixtape battles to streaming wars, you know moments like this define the culture. So what do you think? Did Jim Jones make the right move back in Drake? Or was 50 Cent right to call him out for switching sides? Drop your thoughts below, because this conversation isn't just about beef. It's about what hip-hop stands for in 2025. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, because the next chapter in this story, it's already writing itself.